Welcome to Celebrating Act Two. Celebrating Act Two is the user manual for the second half of your life.
Hi there again. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And Art, today the subject is our stimulus checks that are coming from the government for COVID-19. I guess that's what it's for.
What a stimulating idea.
Did
By
you
the way,
get your check
I
yet?
have I have not, and
I
I'm
didn't get
ready.
my
I
check yet.
I go check your account every day, and I haven't seen it there either.
And you haven't taken your money out of my
No,
account yet.
I you know
Okay.
I only put money into your account. Come on. Anyway,
You're such a generous guy. But there's lots of us who I think there are some people who have actually gotten some money, but mostly they're going to mail the checks out, and that's not going to happen for another 2 weeks to 4 weeks or so. We are going to be getting stimulus checks, and the real question is, what do you do with that money? That's the question today.
well, I think there's actually some bigger questions since we are the user manual for the second half of your life.
We
Uh,
are.
they are. Well, we are. Okay. Well, you are beginning to forget things from time to time. I'm gonna have to.
What?
I'm gonna have to work on that. But as the user manual for the second half of your life, there are actually many people who are in their 50s and
Right.
60s who are still working, that
Sure.
still have kids to put through college,
Yep.
uh, that may or may not have salary jobs as opposed to uh, other jobs where they must be out in the world, so it's whether or not they're working home. And then there are other people who are in some degree of retirement with Social Security and pension income, and we're all getting the stimulus checks as I understand it. So I think there are different concepts, different thoughts for different people.
Well, there's going to be different degrees of stimulation. So let's say you're a working person, but maybe you've been laid off, or your restaurant closed and you're out of work for a couple of weeks. That stimulus check's going to be very valuable.
Right.
You're on Social Security, the other end of the scale. You're 70 years old. You're living on Social Security with whatever income you can supplement it with, and nobody took your Social Security away
Yet.
yet. Yeah, so the stimulus check might have less impact, And the real question is, I think, what I wanted to accomplish today was to give people a little common sense warning, and that is, it's so easy when you get a quote check from the government to think it's free money, and it's so easy to say, oh well,
Just spend
let's
it.
let's
Yeah.
buy that new washing machine or whatever it is. And I think we need to, or in my mind, we need to caution people to really use this stimulus check wisely. First of all, pay the rent, use it for food. Don't buy any frivolous stuff yet. If you don't need the money, put it aside for a while. And you never know. We don't know what's going to happen with the virus thing. So maybe you will need the money.
Also, for people who are at ret- the retirement end of the scale with more of a fixed income, I know that I've lost. There's been a suspension of some dividends on some of
Yes.
my stocks. I think actually, fortunately, at this point, they look like they're still going to do well when the economy comes back. But for the time being, they didn't want to hand out the dividends. To have it in reserve in case they needed it to survive, which I appreciate. So the point is that there's a reduction in that dividend income, or for some people, bond interest income and things like that, depending on their investment. So at one end of the scale, and I think you're absolutely right. If you've got plenty of dough, that's great. I think start a GoFundMe for Celebrating Act Two. Okay, so that John,
That's the best advice we could give
oh,
anybody.
right. So John and I can have some money to buy more equipment to go on fancy vacations to
That's
our,
right.
let's say, front porch, since we're sequestered right now. But for people who are already on fixed incomes, uh, I know that I'm going to take that money and just put it in a safe little place until And then, maybe if everything recovers pretty quickly, then we'll splurge on something having been cooped up so long. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely not going to just, you know, go out and buy a new Maserati.
Well, if you're continuing the fixed income end of the spectrum, if you are on a fixed income, probably there's a good chance that a lot of your supplementary income is coming from stocks and bonds and things. And that might very well have been hurt by the drop in the market. I think they say you mix your stocks and your bonds based on your age. So if you're 70, you might have 70% bonds and 30% stocks. Well, if that's the case, those stocks went south and you're hurting. You can probably wait a while to get it back. Maybe not. Maybe that stimulus is going to be really important for you. If you're on the 50 to 60 year side of the spectrum for your Act Two, then you might have been hurting even worse. You've got probably got more money in stocks, and you're looking at whether it can come back at all by the time you retire.
Right, and you
Uh,
may still have kids who are uh, uh, in college, perhaps,
oh yeah,
or you
very common.
maybe taking care of if you're part of the sort of the sandwich generation, you may be actually taking care of the old folks like us, uh,
Yeah,
or you have still have kids that just kids are expensive even if they don't go to college. Uh, pair of sneakers is $100, or
yeah.
that's probably they say you're an old fuddy that it's who buys $100 pair of sneakers anymore. Well, I do, but if I don't have them at Costco, I'm not interested.
Yeah, and what about the cost of children that are living in your basement after grad school?
You
So,
mean you mean the failure to launch syndrome?
yeah.
Uh,
So there's lots of reasons. There's lots of reason to be cautious with the corona stimulus check.
so anyway, Grandpa Art and Grandpa Johnny
Yeah.
telling you maybe you ought to think about not spending it so quickly if you can afford not to, and
Yep.
just tuck it away because we don't know how long this is all going to last.
And we can't guarantee that there's going to be any more after this stimulus check. There's lots of great talk. Washington is full of great talk about helping people, helping the little guy. Oh, it's all about the Main Street. But you know what? Look how long it took to get this to come around. And quite frankly, Washington is, I think, broken. So I wouldn't count on them for anything.
So we're actually interested in what uh, you guys, our audience, think about all this. So send us a note to info at celebrating act two. That's the number two.com.
Yeah,
And
tell us where you are, what your situation is. Share that with us, and tell us what you think we ought to be providing for you that would be helpful, because that's what celebrating Act Two is all about.
also, if you haven't been to YouTube to see our channel celebrating act two, please do so and subscribe and help us out so that we can keep bringing you interesting and entertaining information. We are interesting and entertaining, aren't we, John?
Well, I'm interesting and you're entertaining, so yeah, that kind of works out.
Okay, good. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
For more on Celebrating Act Two, visit our webpage, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and tell your friends. Celebrating Act Two is the user manual for the second half of your life.